Welcome back, everybody. We are wrapping up season 2, Life Unfiltered, this episode with one of our biggest and most personal conversations yet. This is really the big one. Letting go of the versions of ourselves that we feel like we're supposed to be and that other people have told us that we had to be. Really letting go of should in our life. For so many of us with ADHD, we have spent years and maybe even our whole lives trying to shrink, mask, fit ourselves into the mold of what someone else thinks that we should be and make ourselves more acceptable. But what if we just stopped? What if we let go of the guilt and just let ourselves be? This is the episode where we stop apologizing and start embracing who we are, taking a hard look at the different ways that we hold ourselves back and figuring out new ways to stop holding ourselves back, essentially. But don't go anywhere, because next week we have, for the official final episode of season 2, we are going to be back here with Chaya. A very, very special guest with incredible insight. So definitely tune in next week for our final episodes and to hear from Chaya. But for now, let's get into it and see where we end up at the end of today. Squirrels, we have made it. This is the close of season 2, Life Unfiltered. And I can't think of a better way to wrap up than with a brutally honest conversation about something that we've all struggled with. That letting go of who we thought we should be. This is going to be a tough one for me, as has every episode of season 2, because it's a really honest and open conversation, and it requires me to show up without my mask on, which is scary. And I'm sure it's not only scary for me, it has to be scary for all of us. So if you have ever felt like me, that you need to tone yourself down or you pull yourself together or just be more like everyone else around you, today's episode is for you. Looking back at our season 2, we've talked about ADHD in relationships. We've talked about burnout. We talked about impulsivity. We talked about time blindness. We've spoken about unmasking. We've spoken about challenges managing finances. And every episode we've kind of stripped away another layer of should. But what we're left with is still a lot of shoulds. So in this episode, we're going to be just tearing up that whole rule book and throwing it out the window, because I have to tell you that rule book is total bullshit. Not only is it total bullshit, it's made up. And not only is it made up, it's constantly changing. So we certainly cannot map out our lives according to a plan of action that's constantly changing. So again, before we dive in, next week for the official last episode, we have an incredible guest coming who I cannot wait to share with you. So just please don't miss that. You could skip this episode, but come back next week because it's going to be amazing. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about the people who have told you that you need to be different than who you are, that you have to change in some way in order to be good enough. Who told you that? And I'm sure that there are faces popping into your mind, and I'm sure that people have actually told you this in your life. You have to sit still, pay attention, don't interrupt, be more consistent, stop being flaky, don't be so sensitive, be responsible, grow up. Stop moving. Why are you yelling? These rules start very early. They start from when we're toddlers, and they start in school, certainly. There's a list of rules that we have to follow in school in order to fit into the system. You have to sit still. You have to pay attention. You have to make eye contact. You have to be looking at someone when you're talking to them for them to know that you're talking to them. All of these rules, although they are arbitrary, shape the way that we see ourselves because it comes with constantly being told that you're not doing things the way that you're supposed to be. But being better does not mean being less ourselves. It's a lie and it's a fallacy. And not only is it a lie, it's unsustainable. So even if you sit still and you're quiet and you do everything that you're supposed to be doing, it's going to take so much from you and it's going to drain you to such a large extent that it's simply unsustainable. You cannot live your entire life that way. So what do? Is we develop these masks and these tools to make our way and navigate through the world more comfortably. Because it's very uncomfortable to leave yourself open to constant critique and criticism of the way of what you're doing and the way you do it. So what we do is we build a mask, and your mask can change depending on where you are, but it's something that serves to make you more palatable for your environment. It doesn't really serve you specifically, but it does serve the people around you who are not comfortable with the intensity of your personality. That mask that we put together essentially turns into people pleasing. And it turns into this chronic people pleasing because that's what masking is. Again, masking is not for you, it's for the people around you. So essentially, your personality becomes people pleasing. And everything that you do and everything that you are and every way that you speak and your facial expressions and the tone of your voice and the speed that you speak at and the way that you move your hands and your body and your face while you're talking, all of it is for other people and so that they are more comfortable with you. They don't aren't required to change or to adapt to be able to understand or accommodate you. You are constantly changing and adapting to be able to accommodate their lack of accommodation of you, as weird as that sounds. And I was thinking about in preparation for this episode, I was thinking about when I was first in college, and I was talking to my therapist at the time, who's actually still my therapist 14 years later, whenever I need her. Um, and I was saying that I was talking about this desire to both be seen and heard and also to blend in and fit in. And she said to me, but, like, look at how you dress and, like, look at your hair. I had bright purple hair at the time, I think, or blue or green or whatever color it was then, and I would wear very bright colors because that's what made me happy. And it was my way of kind of proving to the world that I was still going to be me and I was still going to be who I am regardless of what the way that they thought that I should look. But she said to me, "If you're trying to blend in, you're really not doing a very good job at it because people are definitely going to be looking at you when you stand out so much." But what she wasn't understanding, what she was missing was that I wasn't looking to be perceived. I was looking to be seen. And for me, that's a really, really critical difference. Being perceived is somebody else seeing you through their lens. And being seen is somebody seeing you as you are and in a way that feels safe and good for you. But because I was being so misunderstood when I was insisting on being me and stepping out and being loud and bold and colorful, I wasn't being taken seriously. And what I did in response to that was I changed. I changed the way I dress. I changed the way my hair color. I started working in office buildings where I needed to have, slightly more professional attire, whatever the hell that means. And that started a decade of dimming my own shine and dimming my own light and turning down the volume on who I am to make other people more comfortable. And while I was very successful um, professionally, and I was doing everything that I was supposed to do, and my life was perfect from the outside. husband, 2 kids, dog, good job, but I was miserable. And I would wake up miserable and not understand why I was miserable, because you shouldn't be miserable if everything around you is going fine. There's that should again. Please, like, try make this a drinking game. Count how many times I'm gonna say should in this episode. Count how many times I say should throughout this episode. And for any of you who've been listening to me for long enough, you know that that's one of my least favorite words. I think that should is a freaking stupid word, because it has nothing to do with anything other than somebody else's perception of what you are supposed to be. And that is an irrelevant measure, frankly, because the only person who has to wake up in your life and in your body every single day is you. So if it works for you and it works for the direct people around you and the people that you choose to surround yourself with, that's all that matters. And if the people at work think you're a bit weird, well, they're right. You are a bit weird. And that's okay. But it was only when I turned 30 that I started to dismantle everything about my life and everything about should and everything about the way I dress and the way I talk and the way I carry myself and the people that are around me, and really started to push and demand a life of authenticity that was true to myself, because there's no other way to navigate this world. If you're trying to navigate as someone else, you're going to fail 10 times out of 10. There's just nothing to be done about that. So the only person that you can be and the only person that you could do a good job of being is you. The cost of trying to fit in is so heavy. The emotional, mental exhaustion of masking. It's not only emotional and mental, because once it's emotional and mental, it's also physical. You walk around with headaches, you walk around with stomach aches, you walk around with with a frown and wrinkles and just without your shine. Because when you're constantly playing a part, you're constantly acting. When do you get to be you? When do you actually get to just be yourself and just show up the way that you are? Can you even imagine? I mean, I'm sure all of you can, because if you're listening to me, you probably understand what I'm saying. But can you even imagine what it's like to wake up every day and have to put on your armor and none of it can slip throughout the whole day? Because then someone might actually get a glimpse of who you really are. And then they'll know the truth. It's always those negative truths that we're holding on to, right? If somebody sees me, if they really see me fully, then they're going to know that I'm not this put together, capable person that I appear to be. They're going to know that I'm a mess. They're going to know that I'm flaky. They're going to know that I'm flighty. They're going to know that I'm not dependable. They're going to know that I'm all over the place. They're going to know that I'm stupid. They're going to know. And all of that stems from, of course, the way that people speak to us, but it becomes the way that we speak to ourselves. We internalize other people's ideas of who we're supposed to be, and we tone ourselves down so much that that becomes our normal. And when you're constantly lowering the volume on who you are, it can make you feel disconnected from yourself, right? You are this big, bright light, but you are too much. So can we only have like 20% of you right now? Like, yeah, you have a lot to say, and that's really great. And I'm so glad that you have interesting thoughts in your head. But like, could you stop talking? Like, we're sick of listening to you now. And years and years of making yourself smaller for somebody else turns into who you are. For me, one of the biggest moments, one of the biggest realizations that I had was when it came to my marriage. I did what I was supposed to do. I got married very young. I had kids. We built a family, and I could not be more grateful or proud of my family unit. But what do we teach? What do we know about marriages? What are they supposed to be? Your marriage, your partner should be everything to you, should be your best friend, should be your intellectual partner, should be the person who pushes you, should be the person that you build with and that you grow with, and they should be your person in every way. And I got to age 30 and I looked around and I realized that although my family unit was exactly the way I wanted it to be, dad was the right person. Mom is the right person. The kids are amazing. Dog is adorable. Everything is wonderful. However, the relationship piece, the partnership piece wasn't working for me. So what I found was I wanted to stay in my family as mom, but I didn't want to stay in my family as wife. And I think this is the first time that I'm actually talking about this in public, which is very scary. The response that I got from my environment was overwhelming. And the overwhelming opinion, and everyone can agree, was that Avi's a dummy. Avi's dumb and she doesn't know what she's talking about. And she's just like being impulsive and changing her mind again. And she doesn't really know that, like, your life is perfect. You don't know what you actually want. But you know who didn't say that to me? My husband. I said to him, I want to be in this family, but I don't want to be your wife in the way that we think of husband and wife. Even though all of the love and all of the respect and all of the friendship and all of the partnership and everything that we've built together is still there. And the family unit is still there and still intact. But me as an individual, I wanted to find myself by myself. And I wanted to find a romantic partner who matched me in different ways. And his response to that was, okay, because I'm getting a little emotional. Because he is a person who has always been able to see me. And in a lot of ways, he's tried to protect me from myself and he's tried to protect me from the rest of the world. And that didn't always work out to our advantage. But he has always showed up for me and wanting me to be my most authentic self and just be exactly who I am. So when I said to him, I want to stay in this family, but I don't want to stay in this romantic partnership, he said, okay, and just accepted that. And then came 3 years of slowly revealing to people what was going on, which is very confusing for them because they see mom, dad, kids living in the same house and they just assume whatever they're going to assume. But that's where the authenticity piece came in. It doesn't make sense to you. My life doesn't make sense to you. Okay? Who gives a shit? Why does my life have to make any sense to you at all? Why would I need to justify anything I'm doing if I know that that is the truth? And that was when I started rewriting the rules and really stepping into who I am. And it has made me a better mother. It has made me a better co-parent. It has made me a better friend. It's made me a better person. And it's definitely made me a better friend to myself over the years. The way I dress changed. The way I wear my hair changed. I grew my hair out long. I've always wanted to have long hair, but I never thought that, like, it was for me. Like, I'm not a girly girl, so, like, whatever. Who cares what someone else is gonna think? I changed the way I dress. I now dress in a style that I like to call slutty librarian. Slutty librarian is a mix between grandma and, like, for the streets, and it's just the perfect balance of how I wanna be perceived in this world. I am who I am, and I am comfortable in myself, and I'm comfortable in my body, but I also like being somewhat conservative and somewhat covered up. I like to, I'm a very private person as well. Finding the mix and the balance in between those things. When I first got married, Jewish women, after they get married, Orthodox Jewish women cover their hair because part of the marriage covenant between man and wife, between husband and wife, is that your hair, which is a very beautiful part of who you are, is reserved exclusively for you and your husband. That's something that's private for the two of you. And I loved covering my hair. But the rest of the way that I dressed and the rest of the way that I carried myself didn't like align with the fact that I was covering my hair. Because if you're covering your hair, then that means that you're Orthodox. If you're Orthodox, then you should dress in this way or that way. And I made people very uncomfortable when I had my hair covered, but I was wearing a sleeveless shirt, for example, or pants. It confused people and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what category to put me in. They didn't know how to label me. They didn't know what to do with my existence. And it was very unsettling to them. And I would cover my hair some days and not cover my hair other days, depending on my mood of the time, depending on what I was feeling and how it was going. And I found that to be perfectly acceptable. But my environment reacted so strongly to that. And when I was in social work school and I was doing my training, my fieldwork training, and I was seeing clients, I decided that it was time to pick a look. It was time to pick a team because I didn't want my clients to be coming in and get confused when they saw me. Like they weren't, I didn't want to be the center of attention in that therapeutic space. They should be the center of attention. So I stopped covering my hair. And I really lost a piece of myself when I did that because I loved it. And I stopped exclusively because of other people. Now at age 33, I refuse to do that anymore. I refuse to stop apologizing for existing the way that I am and the way that I want to be. It is none of your business if that's uncomfortable for you. Go figure out how to get comfortable. I don't know. That's none of my business. Like, I'm none of your business, and your discomfort is none of my business. The process of learning to take up space without guilt leads you to being able to stop making decisions based on how other people perceive you. Every day of your life, you have woken up in your body and you have woken up in your life and you have fought and clawed and done your absolute best to get through that day. You earned that and you got there on your own. You have survived every single worst day of your life on your own. And that means that you've earned the right to live the way that you want without rewriting who you're supposed to be based on someone else's description. Because I'm going to say something that is revolutionary. And I'm pausing because the tears are coming. You were never fucking broken in the first place. You weren't. There was nothing wrong with you in the first place. You were put into a world and into systems that are not designed for you. But you were never broken. And it is your right and your responsibility to build a life for you that works for you and not one that's built around pleasing other people. I want you to sit with this question. What is one part of yourself that you have been hiding? And the follow-up to that is, what would happen if you just stopped? What would happen if you just didn't hide that part of yourself? So I have a very unique self that sometimes takes over for me, and it makes decisions on my behalf to make sure that I can't hide anymore. So I got my first tattoo when I was 18 years old. In the Jewish tradition, it is not acceptable to be tattooed. And I hid my tattoos for many, many years. I hid my tattoos for well over a decade. And then I got this tattoo right in the middle of my chest. So pretty much anything I wear, you can see this tattoo. And I placed it in such a way that I wasn't able to hide it or cover it up, which is a little freaking weird considering I had spent so much time and energy trying to keep these tattoos hidden from my family and my community and my friends and so on. But then I just didn't have a choice anymore because I put myself in a situation where I couldn't hide it anymore. And I'm grateful to the impulsive part of myself that allowed me to do that because it became a really good metric of how to weed people out. You're going to not interact with me because I have tattoos. That's okay. I'm comfortable with that. You can exit left and that's fine with me. But it allowed me or it forced me to stop hiding a certain part of myself. All of my tattoos, specifically all tattoos that I have very, very, very deep meaning to me. If you ask me about any of my tattoos, it's like a 10-minute story for each one. And it's not particularly interesting to anyone but me, but if you're interested, I'll do a series, a little tattoo tour, and tell you about each of the journeys and each of the lessons that these tattoos represent. But I had put so much time, effort, thought, energy into these tattoos. They all genuinely mean something to me. They all genuinely represent a tremendous challenge that I've overcome in my life, and I was hiding that. And when I stopped, it was like a part of me could breathe, and I gave myself the gift of releasing myself a little bit more from other people's expectations and other people's pressures. This season has been about peeling back the layers, bit by bit by bit by bit. It's been about getting real, and it's about embracing the things that we have been taught to hide. If you've been here with me through the whole season, thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you, and I hope that you have learned something that you can take and apply to your life to make it better. Because you are who you're supposed to be. If today's episode hit close to home, and if you've ever felt like you were too much or not enough, speaking of tattoos, anyone who's watching me on video can see my tattoo on on my hand here that says enough. I look at it every single day. This is one of the tattoos that has really assisted me along my journey by reminding me, by giving me a visual cue and a visual reminder that I am enough, that I'm not too much. Neither are you. You are exactly who you were meant to be. And you have always been exactly who you are meant to be. We tweak, we polish, we try and bring about the best of ourselves. But the you that you are has always been there and has always been perfect for you. I absolutely cannot wait for next week because you guys are going to be blown away by the special guest that we have joining us for the finale of season 2. We're going to unpack everything that we've talked about and really take some concrete steps towards understanding and accepting ourselves and achieving inner peace, being able to move forward that way. So if you've been riding this wave with me, trust me, you do not want to miss this episode at all. Again, thank you so much for being here with me, especially during these vulnerable episodes. I appreciate you for showing up here without judgment. And I want you to know that this is a space where you can show up without judgment as well. So if you ever wanted to send in your stories, send in your experiences, please do. Look for us on Facebook, in our group, Trust Yourself, Trust the Process, as well as on all social media platforms at ADHD. We are available on YouTube as well, so you can watch me being weird and not just listen to me being weird. Um, but until next time, stay loud, stay weird, stay exactly the way that you are. And I will see you soon, squirrels. Bye.